Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I on? Can you? Okay. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And is this on? Or do I need to? There we go. Okay. See if I can move this closer. All right. Yes, my name is Scott Hendricks. I'm the Director of Permanency for the Kansas Department for Children and Families. Speaking with you this afternoon regarding the education report card for students who are in foster care. This is a new report, just recently produced, and it is a report out on the school year 2021 through 2022. I want to start by thanking the State Department of Education for their partnership. They actually produced the report. DCF provides student identifiers. KSDE uses their data and creates the document. We also partner with that agency as part of the Education Stability for Children in Foster Care Work Group. That's a group that also includes the School Board Association, our child welfare case management providers, some of their frontline educational staff, other community stakeholders. They meet monthly, they collaborate, they review data, and help drive policy and practice as it pertains to foster care children who are in the education system. So again, appreciate the partnership with KSDE, and I know they're here as well. This is the third year of this current report. It has grown. It's been refined a little bit to add some additional data points and relevant information that has been requested through outside stakeholders, through that stability work group, and we've also done some comparisons with other states and how they are reporting out on students in foster care. It continues to serve as a learning tool to all involved. 3 years, we've seen some improvements, some additional data, some additional information, but we anticipate that this will continue to grow and be more refined, and it will always be a learning tool for everyone involved. As for the report itself, and I believe everyone has one, I just want to go through some of what is included and how that's interpreted. At first, obviously, page 2, you'll see an introduction letter from Secretary Howard at DCF. The next few pages include explanation of how these numbers are calculated, some of the methodology, and then also definitions of terms that you will see throughout the report. I know if you're not familiar with the terminology, it can all be hard to follow at times. So that, again, that is all included in the report. Beginning on page 7, there's some various graphs and charts. At the very top, you will see the number of foster care students enrolled, and again, a breakdown by race. I do want to point out something that we're very proud of at DCF here is that number is about 767 students less than last year, meaning there's continued work going on at DCF to reduce the number of children in care. That is a good indicator of that. Additional graphs and charts you'll see there include graduation rates, attendance rate, chronic absenteeism, and a dropout rate. Those also are broken down by race, and additionally, you'll see next to those charts are comparisons to all student charts. That includes all students who are in Kansas, not just foster care. On page 9 is promotion to next grade level. That is broken down by race and grade level for foster students or children who are in foster care, students who are in foster care. Page 10 is suspension and expulsions, again by race and including length and how long those suspensions or expulsions lasted. And then beginning on page 11, for the next few pages, you will see standardized assessment scores for students in foster care, and they are broken down by race. Those standardized assessments include math, English language arts, and science. One important thing to point out as you read these or review them is how these scores are reported. Level 1 being the lowest, level 1 meaning limited ability, level 2 meaning basic ability, level 3 is effective ability, and level 4 is excellent abilities. So as you read these, top to bottom is low to high, level 4 being the highest. Another point about the standardized assessment is how the testing occurs. These catch a specific point in time for the student, represent a small part actually of their overall educational experience. In other words, these assessments are not completed every year by every student. And they're typically administered during the springtime, March and April. So while they do provide perspective as to how the foster care population is doing, it's not all inclusive about their educational progression. So just to add some context to that. On page 14, you will see a chart that determines academically prepared for post-secondary success. And that is essentially of a breakdown of those students who scored level 3 or level 4 in the aforementioned assessment testing. You'll also note at-risk preschool enrollment for children in foster care, and as well as participation in the mental health intervention team program. I know that's a lot of information I went through very quickly, but I'll be glad to answer questions when I'm finished with this piece. Some of the highlights of this year, although the report is fairly similar to what it was last year, we did see a small decline in graduation rates for children in foster care. I believe it was 1.9%, but as we did the racial breakdown of it, African American students improved by 3.3 points. The rate of students promoted to the next grade level from our first report in 2019-2020 has increased from just over 50% to 89%. And there is a decrease noted this year in the participation of mental health intervention team program. We think that may be attributable to just the fewer number of kids in the system and who are students. So yes, there's some specifics, highlights to point out, but again, for the most part, this has stayed steady from last year to this year. From the DCF perspective, this report indicates that while successes are happening, there's still a lot of opportunities for improvement on our part. We continue to focus and use this report as reinforcement for work that we are doing in terms of placement stability. There's a clear understanding that if a child is being moved frequently from provider or caregiver to foster home around, how that has a negative impact on their education, as well as caregivers and schools. So we have a lot of concerted work going on to improve placement stability numbers, and firmly believe that as that improves, the outcomes and measures on this report will improve as well. It also reminds us and reinforces that we need to provide continued support to our case management providers in their work that's going on the front lines, particularly those dedicated educational coordinators or liaison staff that they have. Those are the individuals on the front lines who are working directly with schools, with our foster caregivers, with case managers to make sure that those educational needs are met. They're having conversations at the community levels, they're cultivating those relationships, and they serve as a point of contact for schools and everyone involved. So we are looking at that and currently trying to determine some ways that we can provide some further assistance or support to our providers in that area, because the importance of those positions cannot be understated. They're also valuable contributors to the stability work group that we mentioned previously as well. So they have, those positions have, you know, they work with the schools, and what we have learned is they all function differently. There's different enrollment requirements or timelines or criteria, and those are the staff that get to know that and make sure any transitions that do need to occur for a child in foster care can do so as smoothly and as timely as possible. So we're committed to continue to working on placement stability, and we look forward to continuing to improve outcomes and see, you know, better numbers in this report going forward, and look forward to using it again as a topic of to drive conversation on how to improve the whole system. So with that, I will be glad to take any questions that you might have.
Questions from the committee, starting with Representative Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So lots of questions. I was on children and family a couple years ago, and so I think your numbers of foster care has come down in the last 3 years. Is that true?
It has significantly. It's right around 6,200 right now.
Yeah. So gets me thinking from an educational standpoint, since that's what we're looking at today. We have a program, I think it's like 15 or 16 schools in Kansas that are JAG Kansas schools. I know in Arc City we have junior high and high school JAG programs. I think there's 18 to 20 criteria that they have to pick out, that counselors go through these criteria of someone belonging to that organization in order to be that. I'm just wondering, maybe we need to add being in foster care as far as to that criteria. The reason I'm going with that thought process is that JAG Kansas has a 98% graduation rate, and so they're doing something right. And if they can help you to bring yours up 10%, and even if it drops yours off 5, it sounds like that might be a way to go of trying to incorporate with a successful program like that.
Thank you, Representative. And I do know that JAG has been part of the various meetings with the Stability for Education for Foster Children work group. So, and Department of Education may be able to answer that further, but we have ongoing communications with JAG and how they could possibly assist.
Representative Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noted there are a lot of data gaps in general where data was not available, and specifically relative to the Asian population. Why are there so few data? A lot of data points are just not available.
I may turn to ks.gov for some assistance on this, but I believe within the report it's noted if it is under a certain number that is just, if there's a certain total number of students that is just omitted from the report.
Because it's not statistically sound. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Estes.
Thank you. And I think the other reason on that, I think the limit is 10, and it's also to prevent giving out identifiable information about a student. I have a question for you that you may not be able to answer on the top half of page 8 on chronic absenteeism. Does DCF track how much of that is the foster parent struggles to get the child to school, or how much of the time is it the foster parent or the school bus may drop the child off at the front door and they walk out the back door in terms of the absenteeism?
Thank you, Representative. And I do not know the exact answer to that in terms of if it is tracked specifically, if those reasons for absenteeism are tracked. That would be a question I would need to take back to our providers, and some may track that and some may not. They report back to us on certain aspects. That is not one of them, but I do know that transportation is always an ongoing issue when it comes to making sure students get there. But,
Okay.
and to your point, I do think that occurs, obviously. And I'm sure schools could report that as well, and walking in and walking out.
Sure, and that's just a challenge. I really like the report, and could I please have the last 5 years' reports emailed to me? And just feedback on the slides that go up to page 8 where you include all students. I'd love to have that continue on through the rest of the slides as well, so I don't have to flip back and forth, but this is very thorough, thank you.
Understood and noted. Thank you.
Representative Stogsdill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to thank you for the work you do. It's important work, and certainly important for those kids that go through this program. I notice all the data that's in this report is after these children enter the foster care program. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is there any way to assess how they were doing before they came into the program?
That would be a question I would defer to the Department of Education.
We would be able to go back and grab these kiddos and see how they had done on state assessments or what their chronic absenteeism rate was. Anything that they would have done or we would have collected data on prior to the program, we would have access to.
Just for the people watching and on WebEx, could you tell us who you are?
I'm sorry. Kathy Grossenbacher. I'm the Director of IT at the Department of Education.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So have you seen any improvement or any drop in educational ability and so on from the time that they leave the home and come into the program? I'm just curious about that as to how they were doing and whether entering the program has really made a positive impact, or how much of a positive impact.
I think from our perspective, we wouldn't know that yet, that until there's a data review that occurs, data pulled, and do some, dives on that to determine where they are now versus where they were.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Representative Partial.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is data related as well, and it has to do with page 11, and it's just quick math, so I apologize if it's not perfect, but the numbers are not actually adding up, and I didn't know if there was an explanation for it. Like, level 1 is 3 short, level 2 is 4 short, level 3, 4 short, level 4 is 9 short.
I will let our data team from Department of Education chime in on this, but I'm assuming that is relevant to the note below about students, less than 10 students, the question that was asked earlier.
If there are less than 10 students in a subgroup, they are not included. We pull those out. So where you see an NA, in the 2020, 2021, and 21-22, where there is an NA, there are students in there. Where there is a 0, it's 0 students in that subgroup.
Okay, that clarifies it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I actually have a question. Do you have a breakdown, just out of curiosity, of how many of these are in school and how many are considered virtual students?
Yes, the team can pull it, they say, but currently we are not tracking that. But it is possible.
Out of curiosity, because I think, especially with foster kids, if they're at home doing it virtually, I think that could be both a good thing or open up possibilities for not good performance as well. So I would almost be a little bit curious if we had that breakdown. That would be great if we could get that. Representative Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just occurred to me, I attended a presentation last week about teen suicide, and they had the same issue with a lack of numbers in certain categories, and they addressed that by having a 5-year rolling average. So would it make any sense to include more years so that you could have some actual numbers?
We very well could do that. We started doing this report in, I want to say this is our third one, right? And so with this report is when we started receiving the file from DCF of foster care students to match up with kiddos that we receive data on. So we could go back 3 years and see what that looks like. The capability is there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, thank you. I have Representative Haskins on WebEx has a question.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
All right. Sorry, I'm not there in person. Thank you for the report. I just had a question, and maybe this is for IT. Having substituted in for a year in JAG programs, I know that there's a discrepancy between what teachers and administrators may have as far as opinions for best serving all students, but also foster care students. What qualitative data has been collected, if any? Is that also, I'm just curious what administrators and teachers think about the report.
There's been no survey conducted to gather that information to this point from administrators or teachers. So, go ahead.
Oh, no, and that makes sense. It's only been 3 years. Would that be something that could be down the pike a little bit as far as, okay, now we have 3 years of data. Here's, let's find out if the significance are really there with interviewing some of the administrators or teachers that deal with these students?
I would say yes, it's possible. I think those are discussions that we can have with the stability work group and in our collaboration with the Department of Education and see how that might look or might develop in the future. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, further questions from the committee? Okay. I know Brian Dempsey is here as well. I didn't know if there was a presentation from him as well, or if he's just here to tag along and high-five you for all your good work, but we certainly appreciate you coming today, and that was very good information.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it, and please let us know if there are any questions, further questions regarding the report, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you.
Well, I think the overall theme is kind of there's more data that we would like to see, but it's also, I understand it's fairly new, but I think that the discussions that we've had and maybe the suggestions from this committee hopefully are helpful. I concur with my vice chair. This was a very good report, and so I certainly appreciate that. And if we have any more questions, I mean, I'll just reach out to you and see if you can come hang out with us for a little bit longer next time. But thank you for that. Committee, that was really all we had on the agenda today. Tomorrow was a big day. We are having a hearing on the current year funding bill. The bill language is out. The fiscal note is out. Please take a look at it. It's going to be a very, very lively discussion, so please come prepared with lots of questions. Wednesday, again, we will not meet in here. We will meet same time in the old Supreme Court room for the Kansas Teacher of the Year presentation. We'll also have that on the House floor, so you're welcome to come to the well when we're doing that presentation and hang out with these good, fine folks. One of them happens to be from my district, so I'm a bit partial. That's beside the point. Thursday, mental health professionals in schools, and then obviously no meeting on Friday, and we're working on next week's schedule. So if you have any bill introductions or requests for bill introductions, I believe January 30th, I believe, is the last day to request RS numbers from Jason. And so if you have any ideas or bills you would like drafted, we are running out of time for those. So get your ideas in as quick as you can. I'm sure he would love the night before to get 15 requests from somebody. So with that, is there anything else for the good of the committee? Yes, Representative Sanders.
Mr. Chairman, is the meeting on Wednesday, is that a joint meeting with the Senate?
It's a joint meeting with the Senate, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Jason, was I correct on the date there?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, yes, I believe January 30th is the last day to make an individual request. I'm going to double check on that, but I believe February 6th is the last day to request a bill for approval in this committee. So you could still come to this committee and make a request for a bill by February 6th.
But we would prefer not to do that to you, sir, so, you know.
Much appreciated.
You're welcome. Well, if nothing else, committee, we will see you tomorrow. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.